What a tight end, and the very earliest from the Tigers of Pantang. Fantastic, Don't Touch Me There. And we're playing that tonight because for a very good reason. Coming up in Hartlepool on the Headland in the Fisherman's Arms, which, without doubt, Robbo, please back me up, is the greatest pub in the town, is it not?
It's what an atmosphere, and I'm sure it'll be electric when Steve goes there to tell his stories.
It's brilliant. So, November the 20th, the Fisherman's Arms, 8 o'clock start. The Neat record story with the man who is our studio guest tonight, the godfather of the northeast of the new wave of British heavy metal, Steve Thompson. Good evening, Mr. Thompson.
Good evening to you.
Looking forward to it. What a great night this is going to be. The Neat record story, the background and the beginning. Take us back to the beginning. How did you get involved with this thing?
Well, I had, as you know, I was in a band called Bullfrog.
Yes.
And we made our stab at fame and failed.
Right. There's a few of us in this room.
And I put that down to Ridley Tiddly Tum, but that's another story.
That's a good story.
And I decided that I was going to, because my interests always lay in how records were put together and songs.
Yes.
I was into songwriting. And so I decided that I would concentrate on songwriting, and with that would probably be some production. I was fascinated by what Brian Wilson did with the Beach Boys.
Wow.
You know, just there was layers of sound.
Yep.
And I was always in the studio. We worked with Roger Bain, was our producer.
Right.
Who produced Black Sabbath.
He certainly did. Yeah.
And he introduced me to a friend of his, Gus Dudgeon. So
Wow.
I was into what those guys were doing.
Sure.
So I set out to try and get into this world, but it doesn't. You can't walk up and say, "I want to be."
No, let us in, mate. Yeah.
Go sign on and say, "Well, what sort of work are you looking for?" Well, I want to be a record producer.
Yeah.
So I set about making recordings.
Right.
In village halls, bought a tape recorder, an Akai. A Scottish machine, and I learned how to do it. And if I was getting mates and people in to play on these recordings.
So how many tracks are we talking about here on your desk? 4, 8, not many.
Two. There was no desk.
Ooh. Get away, man!
I'm talking about a 2-track machine.
So pre the Beatles sort of technology. Yeah. Wow.
And I went into there was only a couple of recording studios in those days, and that would be Impulse and Wall's End, and Morton Sound in the town,
in Newcastle,
and the one over Sunderland, Ken McKenzie,
Multicore.
One day, Dave Wood, who ran Impulse, just said to me, "What you doing? There's something in it.
Right.
I want you to come and work for me."
Wow.
I said, "Doing what?" He said, "Producing."
Is it as simple as that?
A professional songwriter and producer. He must have seen the tenacity and the focus that I had. I mean, a friend of mine said, "I remember you back then. You were so isolated. All you were thinking of was what you were going to do with your life."
Right.
So it was a massive opportunity, obviously. But what Dave saw was a daft young kid who would work for next to nothing,
of course,
and work round the clock.
Yeah.
So there I landed. And I started to produce just virtually anything.
So what sort of stuff then, Steve? What sort of genres are we talking about here? You're saying virtually anything. Pop music?
Folk.
Initially. Right.
The first record I made was about Hadrian's Wall. With an accordion player. For Rubber Records.
That's right, I remember that label. Mike Harden was on that label and a few of the folk, The
vehicle for output from the studio was Rubber.
Yes. Yeah.
And so it became, studios didn't have producers in-house.
No.
They had an engineer. You got an engineer.
Yeah.
And the engineer would be helpful or not helpful, depending on who the person was.
Sure.
Mickey Sweeney was always really helpful.
Right.
It was Mickey I worked with.
Quite a double act, weren't you?
Yeah, we worked round the clock. And, you had this bizarre thing where at Impulse, if you wanted, there was a producer at hand that would help you.
Right.
Put your thing together.
Yeah.
And then there would be special projects like the one I've just described.
Yes.
And I cut an album with Frank Woppert.
All right, the radio DJ. Aye,
the radio evangelist, nonetheless.
Yes,
I even joined
his
his
right. Yeah,
even joined his church band.
God, I haven't heard his name for years.
Yeah.
Aye.
Well, we made an album called Both Sides of Frank Woppert. One side was country and the other side was gospel.
The Neat Records thing, obviously, you wound up as being house producer, should we say, at Neat. Was Mickey at Neat with you as well? Yeah. So how did this northeast new wave of British heavy metal, Steve, was Paul, we were around at the time, weren't we?
Oh, yeah, kids, yeah.
It was a massive, massive thing to us, wasn't it? Because it meant that our local heroes, our bands like So White Spirit, could, and Tank and bands like that, could get into a recording studio and actually put records out. And I can remember 1980 distinctly reading your name on record labels from bands like this and thinking, we could probably do this. We might be able to do that. You were you played a big part in this thing, and the new wave of British heavy metal is a monster. It's massive. It's highly collectible. It's cited by the biggest of rock bands in the world.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I think I told you, didn't I, the night I went to see Ice-T and Body Count at Newcastle University, and it was supported by Henry Rollins.
Right.
And he spent a good 15 minutes at the start of his set talking about Venom and the British new wave of heavy metal, and specifically because he was in Newcastle. He was in Newcastle, and the home where it all started, man.
Yeah, brilliant. So your first heavy rock production, how did that come about then?
Well, I was just there at the time, and I was just doing my day job.
So this band walked in then?
Well, I have to explain how the transition happened from Rubber.
Yeah.
Where it was, we were talking about getting more into mainstream, and so we talked about a pop label.
Right.
And the name Neat came up. Now, Dave Wood is not the hippest of dudes, and he suggested Neat and Tidy.
Whoa.
It was going to be a sister label, Tidy. And no.
What?
So we had this label, Neat, and then what do you do with it? So we needed to put some product onto it.
Yeah.
And you could either wait until the next accordion player from Hadrian's Wall walks in. Well, some friends of mine, I was sharing a flat by now, moved out of concert with a guy called Graham Jenkinson who played bass, and he was in a band called Motorway. Mm-hmm. Now, let me explain to you what Motorway were, because to put you in that time zone.
Yep.
I'd come from working with Bullfrog, with Black Sabbath's producer.
Yep.
And we'd now gone into a period where disco would come in.
Yeah, 79.
Bee Gees were the thing.
Yeah.
I was moving slightly away from rock and starting to write sort of blue-eyed soul stuff.
Yes, soul stuff.
John Oates.
Yeah.
The punk thing was sort of in the offing, but the rock thing, it's sort of diminished.
Oh, it wasn't happening, was it? Yeah.
So we put out this single with Motorway, and the other big deal with the band Motorway, the main man was a lad called Malcolm Lilly, who was writing great songs in the Elvis Costello mould. That was happening.
Yeah.
And we were going for it. We released a single, and we had distribution, and we had the whole process. And I was running a publishing company called Neat Music.
Right.
There was very little I wasn't doing there.
Sure, all angles covered. Yeah.
And we'd done a sub-publishing deal with Neon in London, which was Bruce Welch and a guy called Brian Oliver.
Right. Bruce Welch from the Shadows. Yeah. Right. Wow.
And so we had sub-publishing, so we had the ability to aim for the charts.
Sure.
It didn't sell in any great quantities, but the safety net was that the guys were doing so well in the pubs and clubs, they could sell them
At gigs.
Sold them at gigs.
Ah, yeah, right.
Although I haven't said that, I did tell you I had a box of them. A motorist single.
Well,
I kept one.
I'm so...
And took the rest to the skip.
Right, and that's the young girl, the 11-year-old girl. And am I right in thinking that was your song?
Well, yeah, it's not one of my best.
So far we've had no heavy rock.
No,
right,
no,
right.
It wasn't even. We weren't even contemplating it.
Right.
The couple of songs that Jenny did was me attempting to be Phil Spector and falling rather short.
Right. With limited equipment.
I was learning the trade. You know.
Yeah.
In fact, the Motorway record was superior to this one.
Yeah.
But again, Ginny, her mum and dad brought her in, and she wanted to make a record, and she was going down a storm in the clubs, man.
So she was doing the clubs at 11-year-old?
Yeah.
Oh, how times have changed, eh?
We knew that if we couldn't chart with this baby, she'd sell them at the...
She'd sell them at gigs again. Yeah.
So there I was, you know, not planning on becoming a godfather of anything.
Yeah.
And we'd put out 2 records, and we were okay because we'd sold them.
Yeah.
And Dave said, no, I can't remember exactly, but he knew of the Tigers of Pantang. He said, there's this band, either they had played at his kids' school, they were doing the youth clubs and that.
Yeah, they were, weren't they? Yeah.
And he said, this band are going down a storm. I want you to produce them. So we arranged for them to come in, and I tried to get them warmed up to the studio and comfortable. You never know how nervous people might be, you know. And I always, I learned that one of the greatest tools you could have in the studio, but it works right through, as humour.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
And I'd use that mercilessly.
Yes, yeah.
So anyway, the Tigers came in, and I suggested to get acclimatised to the studio, to just run through a few numbers, and we'd run them down to 2-track.
Yep.
Quarter-inch.
Still 2-track, yeah.
So we mic'd them up and everything, and then they started playing. I went, what on earth is this? This predates what I did with Bullfrog.
Sure, yeah.
Because we started out that raw.
Yes, yeah.
And it was raw as hell.
Really?
It was like,
really?
Yeah.
It
was like, I don't recognise what these guys are doing.
Mean,
I thought they were really out of fashion.
Right.
And anyway, we did it. And geez, you know, it's my job to make sure the singer stays in tune. So I said, Jess, it's a bit of a problem with the tuning there. He says, which line? I said, all of them.
So this is Jess Cox, the original singer with the Tigers of Pantang. Yeah, he wasn't the world's greatest.
But the big deal was, as David told me, he had the look.
Yes.
He had the look.
Oh, they did. Yeah, they definitely had that.
And he was, you know, he had that movie star look.
Yeah, the big hair and that's right.
But, you know, he didn't deter him at all.
No.
When I said he was singing out of tune constantly.
He just batted on. Yeah.
He had another go, and he did exactly the same. That's the way you want to do it. Anyway, a few weeks later, Dave says, have you mixed that stuff? I said, Dave, what on earth is it? I didn't know nothing about his new wave of British heavy metal. He said, well, I've been hearing more about the band, and you've got to finish it. So now... There was a couple of deputations of different combinations of the band came to see me.
Okay.
And I'm not going to reveal to you here and now.
Sure.
You have to come to the fish.
To the night. Yeah, okay.
Because that record might never have come out anyway.
Whoa.
All right.
But anyway, I went up and I said, Mickey, we're going to have to do something with this. And what I said it's as raw as hell. So... Let's not try and make it sophisticated. Let's draw out the rawness.
Yes. Yeah.
And we reamped the guitar, ran a cable back through from the desk to a Marshall stack and mic'd that up. And we just made it as loud and humongous as possible.
Well, we said when it was playing, didn't we? The guitar sound is absolute. It's big, isn't it? Yeah.
Well, funnily enough, during the course of all this happening, I was busy developing my own career, and I went off to do some recordings for Phonogram.
Right.
Now, guess who the A&R man was who signed us?
How is it?
Roger Bain.
Right.
Bullfrog's first producer.
Right. Sabbath were on Vertigo at the time, Phonogram label. Yeah.
Guess who he got to produce?
Gus.
So there I am in this fabulous studio with Roger Bain and Gus Dudgeon. And they said, how did you get that guitar sound?
Whoa, man. So they were aware of what you'd done. Yeah.
Oh, it was starting to
bubble at this point. Yeah.
And Roger said to me, man, that's a funny name for a band, Tigers of Pantang.
Aye.
I said, well, yeah. I said, it's a Moorcock novel. And anyway, he says, we've just signed a band called Def Leppard. I says, Roger, that's a funny name for a band.
Yeah, Def Leppard. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Everybody was wanting to sign that kind of band.
That's right. Yeah, it's suddenly become wow. Yeah. Raven were a band you worked with quite a bit. They sort of made about 1980. They sort of came to the fore. I think we saw them pretty early on in their. They were a great band. What are your memories of working with those guys?
Scary.
Yeah.
It was.
They were, how can I put this? They were a bunch, weren't they? They were a bunch.
They were. Because I had been off doing stuff, as I've just explained to you. A couple of... Well, I got back from... I'd spent about a month with Gus doing these recordings. I got back and David signed Fist and White Spirit. And it was now a heavy metal label.
It was a movement.
And... I hadn't produced those two singles,
sure.
And I wasn't going to get away with that.
Yeah.
So Dave played me this audition tape, and he said, "You're going to have to do this one." And he said, "It's time we did an album as well, not just a single. We've done 3 singles. Time for an album." And he put this thing on and went up. I got it straight away.
Yes, yeah.
It was heavy metal all the same. It was the loud raucous.
Yes.
But it was thinking man's heavy metal. There's clever stuff going on there.
Clever stuff indeed. We're going to take a little break while we play the 7-inch single version from 1980 of Raven's Don't Need Your Money.
Change my life and I just want to relax.
Wow. What a powerful single that is. Raven, I Don't Need Your Money, 1980, a Steve Thompson production, Steve. What a sound on that thing. Wow.
Yeah, those guys are crazy, you know. I've heard them described as athletic rock, and that's about right.
Athletic rock, I love it.
I decided that I would do it based on the tape.
Yeah.
And so Dave said, well, they're on at Mingles, which is a club in Whitley Bay.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Infamous.
Yep.
So I went to Mingles to check the band out. And the band, particularly John Gallagher, checked me out.
Aye.
I'll tell you at the fish. You'll have to come for.
Yes, we will. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
He subjected me to an initiation of fire.
Right.
And I came through it.
Right. At the gig.
At the gig.
Oh my! Oh, I can't wait to hear this one. Oh, God.
You've never heard this because I've told it before.
Save it
for the jugular.
Did he? Aye, right.
And I didn't flinch.
Aye.
So I started to produce the album, and what an intense experience that was.
So over what period of time are we talking to make the album then in those days? Days? Weeks?
Months.
Wow. Bloody loud, Steve. Let's be honest. There were loud bands. Has that, you worked with them for years, these people, has that affected your lugs? It must have done.
Pardon? What you say?
Because it's not like you're in the studio where you're getting a pop act in, and you get, because for a couple of years following mid 1980, Neat did heavy rock. Surely everything you did was British new wave of heavy metal.
Yeah,
surely,
yeah. Well, in the studio, we don't always monitor at that full
loudly.
level.
That's right. Yeah,
I'll have had more effect on my hearing from playing live.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
And I did play with the live with the Tigers at one point in time as well.
You did. That's right. Yeah.
But it wasn't just about loudness, particularly with Raven. It was about aggression.
Yeah.
For want of a better word.
Yeah.
Or intensity.
Yes.
It's not just the loudness; it's the intensity.
We were saying while that track was playing, Paul, how tight and punchy. There's a lot of stops and starts in that thing, and there were that's their first recordings, so they were as nip as that.
Yeah.
From the word go. Yeah.
Oh yeah, they were really tight.
Brilliant.
John Gallagher's gone on record as saying this. They had a lot of starty bits.
Yeah.
And I took a lot of them out.
Right. So there was more than that.
There was more. There was every song had a zillion elements.
Aye.
And although I've said they're intense, aggressive, headstrong, knew what they wanted, but they listened as well.
Sure.
They'd seen what had happened with the Tigers. So
Aye.
So every time, not everything I suggested went in. There's a little. John's told a story about that, which I'll tell you. I've got to stop saying I'm telling you now. I'm telling you now till November.
That's right.
Nothing till November. But it wasn't just volume with three of them.
No.
It's intensity.
Yeah.
And it's tight as well.
Aye. Yeah. So you must have produced a couple of albums for Raven then.
No, just
the first one.
Yeah. The first one.
Yeah. Because they went on to have many.
Yeah.
And obviously. Great sort of discography behind them. We're really looking forward to this night, Steve. I love your strap line. I may shatter your illusions, but I will open your eyes.
Well, I've already shattered your illusions about the
you have?
Yeah.
You have? Straight away. All these myths that perpetuate about music but we were around White Spirit, Paul. We loved White Spirit.
We grew up with them, really.
Yeah, we grew up with them in Hartlepool. They were a great little band. They were everybody who liked music in Hartlepool, late 70s. They played my first note of live music I ever saw. Mm-hmm. So,
my dad was mates with Yannick's dad.
That's right.
Ex-servicemen's club, and would moan. They would compare moans about having long-haired layabout sons.
It's amazing. Look where he is. Join Iron Maiden. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, it's 40 years ago, Steve.
Jesus.
I know. It is 40 years since 1979. At Christmas, it'll be 40 years since 1980, when all those great singles came out and the album. So it is. Say in the scheme of things, you've been a big part of rock history. Because we were saying when we were on a show a few weeks ago, the guy from Metallica had mentioned Neat Records.
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh.
This guy's the biggest rock band, apart from Iron Maiden, who one of their members were actually on Neat Records. They're one of the biggest bands in the world.
Well, they supported Raven and Venom on tour.
Metallica.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Tony Brace sent me a picture.
Goodness me.
Of a Venom sound check. And on stage is their support act, Metallica.
Yeah.
Just incredible, eh?
But although I've mentioned this before about their influence on the American rock scene, it revitalised it and gave it a new kind of kick up the backside, as it were, to move forward and not just like retread the sort of 70s classics. But it's new
burst
of energy and kick-ass. And the sound that Steve created, really, is a huge part of it.
It's going to be a really, really good night. We're looking forward to it because the beer at the Fish is cracking. You have to try and get a lift there,
even the non-alcoholic lager.
Yeah, they have.
It's wonderful.
Oh yeah. It's a really good pub. It's a great music venue, isn't it? I mean, we've been there. It's brilliant to see. And I say, so November the 20th. It's 8:00. It's at the Fisherman's Arms in Hartlepool. The tickets are £5. You can get them bit.ly/Steve Neat. I'll read that out again, and we'll put it on the Facebook page for the show as well. So, the Neat record story, the background in the beginning. Thanks for coming in, Steve. Been a really, really good and informative. I've learned so much.
Absolutely.
I can't wait to see where this pressing plant was in Wooler. I'm really, really looking forward to that. And thanks for dispelling the £75 motorway single myth as well. Because that is something I don't think I'll be telling my Japanese collector friend.
No. Straight on to Discogs tonight, Phil.
Straight on to Discogs tonight with, someone had a box full and... skipped them. But cheers, Steve, for coming in. Absolutely brilliant. You're going to really enjoy the night. We're going to play another Neat track to finish our little trio of Neat singles. This is the marvellously named Aragorn.
Oh, yes.
This is called Black Ice.